Strange indeed. There is another bedroom report from Reddit user Vigo Von Doom, who says this happened when he was a child, while living in a house he describes as rife with shadow people. He says, "I lived in a house as a kid up until I was 8 that was rife with shadow people. Almost nightly they would be in and around my room, sometimes just one, and sometimes more than one. They would be in the doorways or peeking around them, at the foot of my bed, or creeping up the stairs. Sometimes they would talk to each other in frightening voices, and one time I remember waking up to one sitting next to me on the edge of my bed. I assumed it was one of my parents and sat straight up and looked at it. One time, and this is crazy, one came at me and made me black out from terror while I was taking a bath in the tub when I was like 6 or 7. It was like a black mist entered the room and took shape next to me. All of this sounds crazy, but once we moved, I never had experienced anything like this again. It still gives me goosebumps thinking about it like 30 years later." From the site, My Haunted Life 2 is a report from a witness who grew up in an old country house built near the start of the 1900s in southwestern Ontario, Canada. The strange events reportedly transpired during his teen years, at a time when he was bedridden with the flu. The witness recalls, "I woke suddenly around 3 a.m. without explanation. Looking at my red light digital alarm clock, I noticed the time and attempted to roll back over to get back to sleep. As I was beginning to nod off, I heard what I thought was one of my parents on the first set of stairs leading up to the second floor to our bedrooms. I listened for a moment and heard another creak in the stairs, typical sound of the second from the bottom stair that I had come to memorize, and figured it was indeed my mom or dad coming up to check on me. I called out 'Mom,' but got no response, then tried again, 'Dad,' and again got no reply. I continued to listen and heard another step being taken, which landed the person on the stairs onto the first landing of the staircase. Then, after a moment or two of silence, I heard the stereotypical groan of the first stair off the landing as someone continued to make their way up to the second floor. Once again, becoming more confident in my understanding of the situation and the likelihood that one of my parents were coming up to check on me, I called to them once again, but got no response. All this time, I continued to hear the expected creaks and groans from the staircase that would be made as you ascend to the second floor. Finally, the creaks stopped, as I heard a thud of a footfall on the upstairs landing, followed by one step towards my bedroom, and then another. So, to continue further with the story, as I heard someone taking steps towards my bedroom door, I found myself feel frozen, either with subtle unacknowledged fright or anticipation of some sorts, to see exactly who was coming up the stairs to my room at 3 a.m. As if in the blink of an eye. I really don't remember looking away at any point. I saw a tall, cloaked man standing in my doorway in front of my open door, now covering the entirety of my white, no smoking poster hanging on the door. I laid there in silence, staring to try to understand what I was seeing. I could see no facial features. The entity or apparition, or whatever it was, rather solid seeming and dark, almost as if light was unable to escape the outline of the entity. I don't know how or why I thought it was a man, but his silhouette was broad and tall, and how his, what seemed to be, cloak draped over his shoulders, and how he wore his wide-brimmed hat just had a masculine aura to it. The man and I stared at one another for what seemed to be a solid minute, until I was able to snap out of it and quickly spin around to flick on my bedside light. When I turned back to see what exactly I was looking at, or who was standing in my door, nothing was there. my doorway was empty. In a similar vein to these reports is that of a witness who says